It looks like the House is finally going to pass foreign aid to Ukraine, Israel, and other nations included in the bill that the Senate passed 2 months ago. Welcome to MOMocrats MOMochat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington from crooksandliars.com. And I'm pretty sure that none of us are in danger of ever serving on a Trump jury. But just in case.
I almost wore that t-shirt today too.
Oh my God. I don't have that one. I have the 8645 t-shirt, and I have a different form of the lock him up one, but I don't have that one. That's a good one.
Can you imagine if one of us was called up for that? Off the bat, I would just have to say, I cannot be impartial. I hate this man.
Yeah, I would have said the same
I've never
thing.
felt that way about anybody, but this man, I can't.
Do you have to not hate a person to be impartial about the facts that are presented?
I don't think I could be impartial.
I don't think I could be impartial either, because you have to assume that there's a presentation of facts, and then the defense is going to take those same facts and weave a different story with them. And then the jury has to sort all that out. And I would be like Donna. I loathe this man. He haunts my nightmares. I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to be objective, because I think he should be locked up for life.
You're just automatically going to not take seriously anything the defense says.
There is no way that I think he's innocent of anything.
Yeah.
Well, and especially in this case where there's recordings with him telling Michael Cohen to write the check and stuff. Right. I mean, I don't know how they're going to spin this, but I get a little bit of it from the sycophants who say things like, it's just a paperwork thing. It's just, it's all bullshit.
Well, I also know that if I told them, I could be impartial, even if I really thought I could be impartial, it would take them 2 seconds to go through my social media.
Right.
And then
watch a few podcasts.
Yeah. So, insurance, it ain't going to happen.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Listen, but I feel like even the people who were chosen were not, aren't gonna, they're not his preference. They wouldn't be his ideal jury, because
obviously he's trying to intimidate the shit out of him. Between him colluding with Jesse Waters to knock people off the jury that, dared to say things like, no one is above the law.
Imagine that. Imagine saying that.
How could she? I'd just like to say a word to the reporters out there. There was no reason for you people to give all those details about those jurors. None whatsoever. Yeah, it wasn't newsworthy. We didn't know it. And you could have held it back, and in the interest of justice, right? This was, I couldn't believe the stuff I was hearing last week.
Forget about the interest of justice, the interest of the safety of innocent people who are trying to do their civic duty.
Yeah. They're not the ones on trial.
Because know that his sycophants are dangerous and violent people. So
apparently they don't think so. I don't know how else to explain it. They must not think so. If they think it's okay to report all that information, I just couldn't believe it. And then the next thing you see is Jesse Waters literally bashing these jurors and giving license to Fox News viewers to go out and dox them and track them down. And it was just amazing. The judge should have, right at the get-go, should have said, you guys cannot report any of the personal information you hear here. That's, you can't. You're done.
Well, but
that's one of the few missteps that he's made. He's been pretty good.
Jesse Waters saying that violate the law in any way?
Sadly, no.
No, because he didn't say go get him.
Yeah.
But doxing is against the
He
law.
But
didn't
he
use
didn't
her
dox
name.
them. He just read out the information they had, and so, and then slimed her. He basically
Right.
said, this doesn't sound, what did he say exactly? I can't remember, but it was slime. I mean, it was a way to
Yeah.
slime her and suggest that she wouldn't be objective.
But he didn't
about it.
encourage people to go out and dox them.
Well, and Jesse Waters, by the way, is like a professional stalker. That's how he
Yeah.
made his name. He was
Yeah.
Bill O'Reilly's stalker. He's a
Yeah.
creepy son of a bitch.
One of the articles I read reporting on this happening said that they did an experiment where somebody gave them some information that they might use, answering the questionnaire, and as it was reported in some of the papers. And he was able to find the person in question in 2 minutes, just using simple online techniques.
Yeah, I mean, and
I mean,
why did you have to say things like what the accent was that they had, and
Yeah.
in addition to the, profession and everything was ridiculous.
It was
Crazy.
their employer.
Their employer, where they
What
work.
they looked like.
Yeah. So, I mean,
and again, the thing is that there's no news value.
Right.
No, it's color. It's not news. It's not fact, it's color.
Right.
And like maybe they think they're getting some kind of scoop by I don't know. I don't understand.
But even today, I saw
they're all getting it at the same time.
Profiles of the jury. After they sat the jury yesterday, and today they were working on alternates. This morning, in one of the publications, there was here's what we know about the jurors, and it's like,
I thought I saw something in the Washington Post or either the Times or the Washington Post that said, meet the jurors that are going to be, and I was like, what? No, I don't want to meet the jurors. That's not.
I don't want to know anything about the jurors, and I think that they should all be anonymous, and their identities should never be released, and they should, if they have to wear trench coats and black paper bags over their heads to get in and out of the courtroom, then that's how they should do it.
Groucho Marx glasses and mustaches,
right. I mean, exactly. I don't want to know anything about them. I've served on a jury, and it's hard. It's hard enough. You don't need to have the extra stress of people say, like the Washington Post saying, meet the jurors. It almost sounds like Jeopardy, right? Where, meet our contestants for today. It's not that.
I mean, that jury that I got called, that summons I got last month, turned out to be for a very high profile case here in Los Angeles.
Wow.
We've had this corruption problem. And
in the city council?
Yeah. Deputy mayor.
Wow.
He was a deputy mayor who his first trial ended up a mistrial because the attorney got sick. So they were doing it again. And that's why they were going, it's going to be an 8-week trial. And it ended up being finished in 2 weeks. But still, they had like hundreds of people in the jury pool.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was fortunate enough to be far away down that, I didn't even need to do the voir dire. But, it was something to be taken very, very seriously. And I'm going, well, at least I kept thinking about the upcoming Trump trial. And it's like, well, at least it's not the kind of high profile thing as that,
Right. Yeah. But it's serious business. Any jury is. Like, I sat on a jury for drunk driving. That was the gal that was accused of being drunk was the guardian for her sister. And had she been found guilty, I didn't find this out until after, by the way. We didn't know this at the time.
No.
But had she been found guilty, her sister would have gone into the system and everything. But there is a whole thing out here with the breathalyzer machines being screwed up. And so it was so close that there's no way we could accept that she was drunk. So one juror refused to deliberate. So we ended up being a hung jury 11-1 for acquittal. But so she didn't get her acquittal, but the DA wouldn't prosecute it again. So.
Yeah, so in a hung jury, double jeopardy doesn't apply, right?
No.
Because you haven't been, okay.
It's basically a mistrial if you have a hung jury. then you go back and do it again. Except the DA is not going to do it again when he has 11 to 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, I mean, that's neither here nor there. It's just that to these jurors have an awful lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And they don't need more. They don't need.
I mean, the prospective jurors, there were 2 of them that were in tears today during the voir dire.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
The stress.
Yeah, they expressed a lot of anxiety and fear.
Yeah.
About, what they're about to participate in.
With that said, I got a big laugh out of all the social media being read out and him having to sit there and take it without reacting.
Well, I missed this. What's going on
the first day?
Yeah, it was it was the first day or whatever. They were screening jurors basically, and so they went through their social media, and then they would read back some of what they said. Like, and one guy had posted like a fake video basically of Trump saying, "I'm just fucking stupid." And this was like in the courtroom with him sitting there and having to sit there quietly.
Was he awake for that part?
If he wasn't asleep.
Yeah, he wasn't asleep for that. And sit there and take it. I thought, oh yes, please, more of this, more of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would be called as a juror long enough for them to read my social media out loud in court and then say, no, I'm not. I can't be objective. But I mean, the way they're trying to downplay this trial is ridiculous, right? I mean, this is fraud. What he did was fraud.
Well, some people are saying it should be being in the media should be being framed as an election interference.
It is an election interference.
It's election interference.
It is election interference. And it's and some of us have been saying that's what it is, and that's what they should call it, because the fact is that Access Hollywood tape came out, and then this news broke right after that.
Right.
And it broke at least internally, right? And had he not paid them off to be quiet, and kill the story, those stories, I think, would have killed his chances of winning, because he only won by 80,000 votes, and the 80,000, the evangelicals would have stayed home. Yeah. Some of them would have, not all, but some of them would have.
Yeah, they really may have.
So, I mean, it was one thing that the Access Hollywood video, and he went out and said, "Oh, I'm so very sorry," and all that, which he was not sorry, but he did that thing.
He believes it still.
Yeah.
And he said so during the E. Jean Carroll deposition.
Right. When you're a star, they let you.
Yeah.
And apparently in connection with this trial, he said something similar to that, right? When you're a star, they let you.
Yeah.
I don't know. So.
Well, the other delicious thing is, always projecting the whole Sleepy Joe thing. Turns out he's Sleepy Don. He keeps falling asleep.
Don Snorleone.
Don Snorleone. And
but
then today, today it was reported that while he sleeps, he farts so badly that his attorneys have to get up and move.
I mean, and because I'm like 12 years old, I laugh at that. And I also laugh at the fact that the whack nuts in the House have formed their own fart caucus.
Yes. Good segue. Good segue, Karoli.
How do they do that and not, like, is it on purpose?
Yes.
Are they 12-year-old boys? They
Lauren
think
Boebert
it's funny
said,
to have the acronym FART as they're trying.
Right. The acronym is for, let's see, Floor Action Response Team. But Lauren Boebert bragged about it being, them stinking up the House.
But they're the ones stinking up the House.
Yeah, she's okay with that. The whole point of her comment was to say that, we're here basically to fuck things up. That's, and this is a more polite way of saying it.
So, I mean, this week, Mike Johnson finally decided he was going to be the speaker. And
Right.
he was going to
This
get
the
some
week
things
he
done.
becomes speaker.
And he was going to put the country's interests above that of Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Mhm.
and get the foreign aid package all split up, on the floor. And by splitting it up, people who didn't want to vote for Ukraine could vote against Ukraine. People who didn't want to give money to Israel didn't have to do Israel, but then put it all back together and send it to the Senate. And they got over the hurdle of the Rules Committee today with help from the
Right.
Democrats. But
Right.
it was still a majority of Republicans voted yes.
So here's the thing. And now we have, the 4 idiot Republicans, the ones that are the worst. Paul Gosar,
Right, the
Lauren
biggest
Boebert,
idiot Republicans.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, and there's one other one, Andy Biggs, I think. Is it right? Is
It's
not
I
Andy
can't
Biggs?
remember.
Well,
Might be. I think there was
so
another one.
there's 4 of this rump,
Yeah.
right?
The fart group, the farters.
The unserious fart group, right? And who have now signed on to the petition to bag Mike Johnson.
Mike
Now,
Johnson, yeah.
so I've seen quotes from Democrats saying basically, look, we hated Kevin McCarthy because he was a backstabber. He'd lie and backstab, and we weren't going to save him. But Mike Johnson seems to be somebody who we can, at least is honest about what we may not like everything, but he's not lying to us. And that makes me think that that Democrats will save him from being.
I think they are. I mean, Johnson and Jeffries are in negotiations on all of
I
this.
think so
They're
too.
working together. So the
The way they
Democrats
should
will
be,
save him, I think. What?
right? The way they should be.
Right.
Right?
That's how it's supposed to work.
Congress is supposed to work, and Johnson even said so in his presser,
Right. So
Is it
now
a
do we not
majority
only
rule?
have a fart caucus, we have a body shaming caucus, which is not a surprise, only they're body shaming Mike Johnson for some reason. They started calling him Tubby.
Was it Mike Johnson or Matt Gaetz? I could never tell who it was, because somebody said that they called Matt Gaetz Tubby too.
I
So
thought
I'm
it
not
was Mike
sure who it
Johnson,
was.
but like who is?
I mean, he's not Tubby, so I don't know how you.
Neither is Matt Gaetz, is he?
I don't know. A little bit, not much. I mean, not enough to really. Neither one of these are that.
Kind of normal for a rich white dude,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
don't think Mike Johnson is, by any stretch of the imagination, even close to being overweight. I mean, he kind of looks like a little guy to me. Right?
He looks pretty fit to me. I don't know. He looks fine. I don't get it.
To be honest, I haven't spent that much time checking out his physique. So
no, yeah, me neither. I've only seen him from Europe anyhow, because I just see headshots of him in the press conferences or whatever. Like,
yeah.
But these people are so unserious about.
Oh, they're absolutely.
They're stuff clowns.
It's all a grift. It's all publicity and raising money and a grift for them.
Right.
It's a game. And they don't like being they've decided they don't like being in control of the House, because it's much more fun to be in the minority and muck things up.
Well, Trump didn't like doing any work either. He didn't like he didn't like actually being president or doing any of the things he was supposed to do.
No, he liked the power.
But he didn't like doing any of the things you were expected to do, and he just didn't do them. And that's just what they're doing in Congress. That's just what the Republicans are doing. They're like, fuck this, I don't want to govern. I'd rather obstruct. And that's been, that's some version of that has been going on for decades.
Yeah.
This is
Karoli is saying, wait, what are you seeing, Karoli?
Am I? No, I'm not. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you said wait.
Yeah, I thought you did too.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is like the Chernobyl version of obstruction. What's going on with them now? What the GOP has become.
Well, maybe we are turning a corner, and if we can get that aid to Ukraine,
yeah, I mean that part, yeah, that would be amazing.
So I'd like to insert a little interesting tidbit in here, which is that I don't know if you guys caught the column that we ran last Saturday. It's from Jonathan Larson's Substack, The Fucking News. But he did a whole
Jonathan Larson said it first this week.
Yes, we can't even blame that on Karoli.
Yeah. So he wrote a piece last week talking about the fact that there could be some movement on Ukraine because the hard right evangelical group wants, or the family basically was in touch with and starting to pressure them to do some Ukraine aid. And
the family?
The family.
Which
that
family?
would make sense.
That was last week's column. So tomorrow's column that we're running is where he takes the victory lap for that story, which he should. And
wait,
then,
I'm sorry, what family? What are we talking about?
The family, the C Street group,
Washington D.C. ultra Christian religious thing that's been there
those people
since like the 1950s.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That family. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
And so then now we see Johnson kind of come into Jesus, as it was on Ukraine. Yeah. Right. And everything.
That makes perfect sense.
And there's
what was the change of heart? Why did he? Because he was kissing Trump's ring last week.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what happened to change it? And then you see tomorrow's column will have Tony Perkins of the
Family Council
talking about how important it is to get aid to Ukraine, because what they want to do is make Ukraine basically a Christian backstop to Russia. So their whole goal is, evangelizing a hard right, Ukraine. That's what they want. A hard right.
That's what they always want.
Christian nationalist.
I mean, they got a Jew at the head.
So, but it works. It works right now because Mike Johnson is also, very deeply connected to these groups, and so getting pressure like that from them is gonna, I think, is why it turned the corner. I mean, props to Jonathan Larson for getting this story and writing it. I wish it was getting more traction from it in the mainstream than it is. But anyway, we'll run the second installment at 8 a.m. Pacific tomorrow.
I'm gonna have to go read that.
Yeah.
But if
for people that don't know, the family was it on HBO or Netflix? What's that? What was that series on? There was a a docu-series about,
and it was actually a very good one too.
It was very really good. I forget which streaming service had it.
Yeah,
but it was just called The Family, right? And
there's been a lot written too.
And it was
the book by Jeff Charlotte is, I think, a must read. It's Netflix.
Terrifying.
Netflix. Okay. Yeah. Really worth people's time. But if you want to know what's running Washington, and I can't even say it's behind the rise of insanity and republicanism, because Democrats are part of it too.
Yeah.
Like, Democrats bend the knee. There are some that will.
It's been since the Eisenhower days.
I mean, this is all the prayer breakfast and all of this. I mean, keeping in mind, it's gotten more extreme. The prayer breakfast and everything Democrats were a part of that because, it was politic to do that.
Yeah.
And everything. And there are Democrats who are Christians. Biden is one of them, right? I mean, Biden is a devout Catholic. So on that level, it makes sense for him to be support the prayer breakfast and all that. But I mean, every president has. But
yeah,
Biden would actually be there. Chris Coons. I mean, there's a bunch of senators and stuff on both sides of the aisle. But underneath all of that is the extremists, and Tony Perkins is obviously one of those. And so his goal is to try to make, Ukraine into a Christian nation, a Christian nationalist society.
At the moment, what we have is the whole fate of the Western world in Ukraine. And
Pretty
I
much.
don't care who the other supporters are and what their nefarious reasons might be.
Right.
We need to get rid of Russia.
Well, exactly. And that's so I consider it a real gift that this is pushed Mike Johnson basically to do it. And it's really exposing people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who claims she's a Christian, but isn't backing this, and all these other people. Boebert is another one, right? Into, actually having to step up. So the interesting part of this is that we're going to have these. I thought actually that it was really smart of Mike Johnson to split these into separate bills so that people, like, for example, there's going to be Democrats who aren't going to want to vote for Israel aid. Okay. Right. And there's going to be Republicans who aren't going to vote for Ukraine aid. And, so I thought it was actually very smart of him to divide them up that way. And I think maybe Hakeem Jeffries might have been involved in that too, right? Like, let's do it this way. That way these guys don't have to vote, but your guys will vote for that. And then our guys will vote for this and your guys won't. So, and then we'll, put it all together and send it over to the Senate, and
Hakeem Jeffries is pretty much showing him how to be speaker. So,
well, I think he is. I mean, I can't prove it. I don't have any hardcore knowledge, but I think that is not something that Mike Johnson would necessarily have done on his own without somebody pushing him. Yeah. In the background. I mean, keep in mind 2 weeks ago, he wasn't even going to deal with it on any level. Right. So
that's right. I mean, we've practically got whiplash with how quickly this
I know.
And
I know, but he's making the right decision.
Too excited, but like I'll see it when it's finally been signed into law. But this is good.
The fact that they overcame the rule, basically, that's always the big hurdle. It's like the filibuster in the House, right? The rule. So the fact that they overcame that is a big step forward, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah. So, yay, I guess. But I would really like to see that small, vocal, and all too powerful group, the Gates, Marjorie Greene,
the farters,
Gosar, all those, right? The farters. I would like to see them all be sidelined.
Yeah.
And if this does it, good. I mean, at least they can come away saying they got something done.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, we'll just see what happens. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been showing herself more and more in Putin's pocket.
She's actually echoing talking points that she couldn't otherwise, that there's no way she would know or be able to say because they're so nuanced with regard to Russian stuff.
Really?
I mean, yeah. So
I'm not paying attention to her.
I'd have to go look it up. It seriously is nuanced. It's like stuff about Russia and
she's too
like
smart.
Little.
She's not smart enough to say. Yeah.
I mean, it's stuff that isn't commonly discussed anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's in her tweets. You can go find them there. But I saw one and I thought, there's no way this came out of her mouth. She's too dumb.
Yeah.
Right. Or out of her keyboard.
Out of her brain. Yeah.
Yeah. So, clearly there, and we all know there's active measures going on, but I just like to see them sidelined and stripped of a lot of their power. I was really hoping part of what they were going to do with this rule was to increase the number of people that it took to get a petition to
get rid of the speaker.
Remove the speaker. But he decided not to do that. And Maybe it's because he wouldn't have gotten other Republicans to sign on. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that should come from a Republican who's not the speaker. Or
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think that whole thing is so stupid.
It is so stupid.
It was, that was not one of Kevin McCarthy's smartest moves. He wanted that speakership so badly, he gave up all his power.
Yeah.
And his job.
And then whined.
Yeah.
When, that's the part that just drives me crazy. It's like, whine, 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 whine.
Yeah.
About it. And he's still whining. The Democrats didn't save me, can you imagine if they do vote and keep Mike Johnson?
And save Johnson now? Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Right now. I mean, have we even heard from McCarthy lately? I feel like he's been
around. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a great little fundraiser. So he's busy, putting money into the campaigns of the opponents of the people who voted him out.
Ah, okay. They're being primaried.
Mm-hmm. And, we talked about Israel in there too. If we were doing this show last night, we might have been going, ah, ah.
I refused to do that because I feel like by now I have learned not to take the initial reports of anything that I see. Not that I don't take them seriously, but that they are nothing but initial reports and that they are incomplete and likely overblown. Depending on where, actually not even depending on where they come from, whether it's like people on Twitter or the news. Like, it took everything I had not to turn the news on when, a friend of mine texted me that said Israel just hit Iran. And I was like, don't turn the news. We were watching Last Tango in Halifax. That's the show we're watching right now. And I was like, and we were right in between episodes. Like, we had just ended one episode. We were about to start another one. And I told my husband, Israel hit Iran, and he was like, do you want to turn on the news? And I was like, no, I'm not turning on the news. And because I just knew. And, and then I had seen something about Syria and Iraq too. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait. This is not, we can't possibly have the information now. I'm going to look in the morning. And I'm so glad I waited, because it's just what I kind of figured. It was a response. It was a way for Israel to say, sorry, no, you can't send hundreds of drones into Israel without us responding. And it was a narrow, targeted military response to one place in Iran. And, to say we have the capacity to don't fucking do that anymore.
And so for the time being, it looks like this is done for the time being.
Yeah.
But I'd just like to say a word to the people that are considered to be reporters and experts in that region who inhabit Twitter. And that is, slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
And stop pronouncing that it's World War III when you don't even know what's happening.
Oh, here.
Right.
I mean, I can't. Peter Beinart was awful. He was just awful.
That's why I can't. I don't know who to listen to on Twitter. I can't.
Yeah, I just shut it. I didn't listen to any.
I started seeing
the only thing and you know who I looked at this morning? The first person I looked at was, I got my Substack email notification from Malcolm Nance.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I read that and I was like, okay, that's what happened. Thank you.
Right. I mean, that the perspective helps a lot because, and that was what was lacking from people that you actually look to be experts on this stuff.
He's
And
an expert. He's a
rightly
Middle
or wrongly, I mean,
counterterrorism expert. He is a military expert. He is.
No, I'm not. Yeah, Malcolm Nance.
We're not
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like that's why, and things like this, like I'll go to him, and I'll be for perspective, and I'll do it the next day because he explains why some people were thinking Syria and Iraq had been hit, and it's actually kind of interesting what they did to sort of scramble things up to make Iran think that, like, kind of lull them into thinking that they weren't, just it was sort of a confusing measure. I don't know. It was just sort of interesting, but then I had like some distance from it, and yeah. But you're right about the reporters, Karoli. It's just like slow your.
I just think they need to use some more discretion. They get on and they just start spouting off stuff when they don't even really have enough information to say one way or the other what's going on.
But there's pressure to say stuff, be first with the stuff, get the clicks, get the eyeballs, get everybody talking, and it's incendiary rather than informative.
Right. And it didn't inform me in the least. Yeah. And it also actually convinced me that Twitter is now useless for any kind of breaking news. It's gone. I mean, it's just, Elon is.
So where should we go for breaking news? Like where?
Well, that's the problem. Everything is so fragmented right now.
Yeah.
I didn't find anything on Threads the way that because their algorithm suppresses a lot of that stuff.
Right. I mean, I'll tell you, I saw the tweets on Threads, the posts on Threads, the alarmist things on Threads, but there was a lot more about Taylor Swift on Threads. And and Threads has this cute little animation. If you like anything on the Taylor Swift things with the right hashtag, you get balloons and hearts and things. So I'm just going to get that dopamine hit because I just want to see the balloons and the hearts. And that's what I was doing last night. Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
for the first
that's essentially what I did with Last Tango in Halifax. I just sat there and watched, people with gorgeous English accents and beautiful countrysides and, like their terrible lives. And,
I'll tell you,
I also recommend the tourist if you want pretty countrysides. And
what's it called? The tourist?
Okay. Yeah.
Hold on.
The second season takes place in Ireland, the first one in Australia. And it's kind of Twin Peaky. But it's
I like that.
The two of us were like,
when I say that, it's just like bizarre. Like the characters are bizarre, and
is it on Netflix?
Yes.
We're all out of order. We're talking about what we're watching.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
No, but it's fine. Like that, but that's like, I mean, you're right about like the dopamine hit because I don't know.
Well, I mean, I just don't think the world is ending at,
even
6
20
o'clock.
years ago. Yeah, right. Like we wouldn't have had that immediate information.
Right.
Yeah. We would have had to wait.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think I could see where they would break in on CNN with breaking news and say this is something that has happened. But CNN, when I worked for them, and I'm not going to vouch for what they do now, but when I worked for them, they were you had to have 2 sources confirmed for every fact you reported.
Exactly.
So, they were practicing journalists back then.
It was journalism. It was real journalism
and entertainment.
Right.
But that's the other reason why you can't. That's the other reason why.
I was just going to say they would have broken in and said it happened, and they would have had at that point confirmation from a U.S. official that it happened before that they would have broken in. But there wouldn't have been all this opinionating. I mean, that was what drove me crazy. It was like, and the instant criticism of Biden. Right. Biden's just going to sit by and let it,
that's what was pissing me off. You know?
Like, what is he supposed to do? Go over and wring Bibi's neck? I mean, he's not the president of Israel. I'm sorry.
Again, he's not the president of Israel. Again.
And so, what's he supposed to do other than what he's doing, which is, I mean, I saw stuff come across my email that there were back channel discussions going on. They wouldn't give readouts on anything, but there was obviously discussions going on. In the meantime, Biden's out there like campaigning like a workhorse every day, right? I mean, that's what he's doing. He's running the country and
campaigning and not falling asleep and not farting while he's falling asleep.
And so last night we had the 4 panels. This was before the news broke about this.
The Israel Iran news.
It's like at 5:00 my time, 8:00. Yeah. So we had the 4 panels up on YouTube TV, Fox, BBC, MSNBC, and CNN, right? And so MSNBC and CNN and BBC are all covering Trump's trial.
Yeah.
And then Fox News is trying to make the case that Biden gets confused about where he's supposed to go. And the footage they showed was like a group picture from something where they were putting people in places, right? Yeah. So it's like,
which is confusing.
It is confusing. And also it's like somebody else telling you where to stand. It's not like where to stand. So you're kind of milling around until you're told. It's so dishonest. I just hate them. I hate what they do to this country. I just want to throw something at my TV when I see that shit. And, Jesse Waters was trashing the jurors again last night. That was, another thing. So it's just wild, though, to watch. Like you have 3 channels of reality and then one of just pure fantasy.
And the one with pure fantasy has the largest individual rating.
Right. The largest number of viewers, although they're all old.
Yeah. I mean, the other ones out, if you aggregate the others, there's more of us than them. Yeah.
Right.
But that's going to be a problem. It's going to be with us for a long time. And I still can't figure out what we do about it, except wait for everybody to die that's watching them.
Well, no, we have plenty of problems with, there's plenty of young racist conservative.
Yes, that's true, especially with the gap between women and young men.
There's plenty of religious organizations that are doing their damnedest to bring up young fascists, young misogynists, young. That's when I used to escort in out in Hagerstown, there were always these depending on which there was one day a week when there were at a certain time of day, it was like 10 or 10:30, there would be one group of, maybe they were 16-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids. They were older teenagers, and they were all dressed, it was a group of boys and girls, and they were dressed the girls had long skirts and like button-down blouse, button-down Oxford shirts, and then the boys were dressed in suits, and they were, carrying their books, and they just, tromped down the street, and they were on their way to their religious training. And it was not, there was a church, there were actually plenty of churches around in Hagerstown, but it was not one of the typical mainstream, Catholic or Presbyterian churches around there. I used to know, it's been a while now, I used to know what they were going to, but it was not your traditional youth religious training kind of thing, if I can say that.
Not mainline Christian.
Yeah, it was very bizarre, and you can just it seemed very like trad wifey, and I just got a weird feeling from them.
I'm not surprised.
No.
I actually read the Fundy Snark subreddit over on and they're great. They've got, they've got them all kind of in different buckets, but of the so-called influencers, right? So you have the Duggars, and then you have the Duggar offspring, and then there's these other families too that they follow, and so I follow those mostly for the snark. I come for the snark. It's true.
Well, it's fun, Well, and there's there are some things that speaking of snark, there were some things that there were some very funny memes and tweets or whatever, or posts coming out of Israel when Iraq. I mean, when Iran, fired the drones in, or when they were waiting for the drones, and they were very darkly funny, but funny nonetheless, and they were just all making, and some of them were just laugh out loud funny. But
sometimes the fun,
and I'm here for it. I'm here for the humorous release of
exactly
of anxiety and tension.
That's what keeps you sane.
And I imagine in that when it comes to Christian religious extremism, there's a not that they're being attacked with drones, but that there's probably some kind of release that needs to happen from people who either used to live in that world, or who have people who are close to them who live in that world. And anyway, but speaking of women, there was and what do we do? There was there's a woman I follow on Twitter who says she's got a friend and a mentor who is white and spends a lot of energy working on her allyship, and that she gets asked a lot what we can do and what we should do. And the answer was really, really simple and understandable. The woman I follow is called Michelle. She's Michelle B. Young on Twitter. But, her friend is the one who wrote about, working on anti-racism and how you convert white women voters to vote for Democrats. And she sees, I'm not going to read the whole thing word for word, but basically she sees that the nation in three different parts. People who want to keep white supremacy on one, they're on one side, those people who love white supremacy. People who want to build like a true multiracial democracy on the other, and people in the middle who don't want to make a firm choice. And the work is the work is in the middle. Mm-hmm. The work is getting enough people in the middle to join up with those of us who want a true multiracial democracy. And the best prospects, according to her, for this switch are white women. And specifically, the white women who don't think of themselves as backing white power, right? Like they still, but they are also like, they still enjoy the comfort that their life brings them from their life of privilege that they don't necessarily recognize or admit that is a result of their whiteness or whatever. They still want to be comfortable. But basically this, white women who don't want to think of themselves as racist or fascist or anything like that, if 10% of them decide to show up and vote for Democrat, show up for themselves and show up for other people, like, vote for in their interest, as in vote for reproductive rights and vote for, LGBTQ rights and vote for, voting rights, get them to see that it's, benefits them and everybody to be, a good person, that we can like win solidly.
Yeah.
What she's saying is that, like, it's, the best people who can make this case to white women are other white women. So mobilize activists who can make this case to white women. If you are a white woman who is wondering what to do, that's what you can do. Speak up at people who you think might talk to. Don't make politics a verboten topic. Don't be afraid to say, I don't agree with that. And it does not have to be a confrontation. I mean, I happen to be kind of a confrontational person, but it doesn't have to be a confrontation. I know, hard to imagine. But it's just as easy to say, I'm not sure that that's true. Or I've had a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you why I'm afraid of that attitude. Or something like that. There's all kinds of different ways you can work in, don't you? I've always thought of you as someone who blah, 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 was open to, a child having two mothers or, whatever. I've always thought of you, there's all kinds of ways. Because most of these things aren't politics.
No,
most of them are culture.
Right.
Most of them are human decency. Most of them are letting people just live their lives. And, that, so, I mean, white women have been so trained to be quiet unless they are speaking up, unless they're being a Karen, that it's just, it doesn't seem to be in our social DNA to do this, but we need to find ways, because 10% is not a very big number.
No, I think it's doable.
And I do think it's doable. And I think, and if what it takes is twice a week, you sit by yourself and look in the mirror and practice how to do that, how to, a few different ways of working these things into the conversation. I don't know. I think it's doable.
Yeah. This week, I definitely am feeling more hopium, more optimistic.
I love that.
Well, it helps to see the polls turn around a little bit, but
even though I go,
even though I'm not putting a lot of stock in
the polls, but it does make a difference,
Yeah. I mean, it feels like the momentum at least is going. If you only forget the numbers in terms of, is it 2 points or 4 points or 6 points?
Yeah.
Just watch the trends and say, okay, well, it looks like the trend is momentum toward Biden. That helps. It makes makes me feel better.
And if you really think about like the impact you can have by getting another white woman to think about the impact they can have, that's tremendous.
Yeah. One white woman at a time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's our responsibility to undo all the, the bad things that have given us the comfort we're enjoying. I mean, it is. Because other people should get to enjoy
spread the comfort around.
Too. Yeah, other people should get to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway. That's my story.
Well, it's a good one. I think, let's see, should we just call it a week, ladies?
Well, we can also talk about, I do want to also say that Joe Biden got some gun control measures.
That's true.
Done.
It's true.
Since we're on like a sort of a hopium positive note here.
Now, this was the bill that got the bipartisan bill that got passed 2 years ago.
Right. But the final,
they got the rules. They finalized the rules this week.
Right.
Yeah,
and that closes the gun show loophole, which is a really BFD. It's huge.
Huge. Yeah. Not just gun shows, but private sellers, so-called collectors. if you're selling guns all the time, you know, you need to get a dealer's license.
Yeah,
That's
the final rule, is that
and you need to do
if you're
background
repetitively selling guns of the same or similar make and model within 1 year of their purchase, you know, you're supposed to become a licensed dealer.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's big.
Yeah, it's really big. It prevents people from evading the licensing and background check requirements by saying they only sell a few guns. You know, the final, it's a big deal. It prevents people from falsely claiming guns are part of a personal collection. It makes background checks more frequent. It closes. Yeah, this is really a big deal.
These are the loopholes it closes, and
these are the loopholes.
You know, it's not as much as we need, but it's better than we've got.
I mean,
I think it's a pretty big deal. Kamala Harris has been basically going around selling it, campaigning on it this week.
You know, we need to create a great big visual to hold up whenever, and then add to it whenever he like the Biden's wins account, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's where I saw this. That's where I saw this. And Karoli, didn't you send in the Crooks and Liars email crew the way the Biden newsletter came out and touting all their wins and making fun of Trump, and you know,
because it's good for us to be able to have those facts at our fingertips. I had a conversation with someone this week who was just at my house, and the Trump trial was on the TV, and he didn't even know that was happening.
Really?
And we were he's been busy with his family, with his business, and not paying attention.
Yeah.
And he didn't know that Trump is the nominee again. He said that he didn't like Trump or Biden. And even though he voted for Biden the last time. And so I started in, and I'm telling him, but the things that I could think about were the student loans and, just, he is keeping his promises. But if I need to memorize all the wins, at the end of the conversation, he was like, oh, well, maybe I will vote. And it's like, you have to vote. You have to vote. It's not just the presidency. You have to vote.
Yeah.
So I was proud of myself for doing that.
Well, there you go. I mean, you did it.
It wasn't a white woman. It was a white man, but still.
But that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't mean you can't.
We need to be able to just reel these things off.
Yeah, because that's the point. Is the people in the middle who are on the fence. We need to take them off the fence and put them into our camp.
Exactly. Yep. So that's our homework this week. We'll have another assignment when we see you next week.
We're going to check, though. We're going to check if you did your homework.
Join us on YouTube, MOMocrats.buzzsprout.com, or on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills, saying goodbye for the MOMocrats, along with Karoli and Aliza Worthington. And bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
MOMocrats MOMochat is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.